fast forwarded to that part of your career, what were some of those experiences? I mean, 20 years, did you work for multiple companies and, move forward through switching companies, or did you stay at one company and work your way up?
No, I did not stay at one company. I stayed with Unocal, which was my very first corporate job. I stayed there for about 3 years as a entry-level staff accountant. I got my feet wet, and for me, it was a blessing in disguise because I had an African-American man who was my leader, who was my mentor, and who made sure that I knew the ropes of accounting. Now, it's one thing to study accounting in school, but it's another thing to go out in the real world and really apply what it is that we learned. So I had an African-American brother who took me under the wing and showed me the ropes. And I got to a point where I was ready to promote. There were no positions open in the organization, and I had relocated to the Ventura County area. So that is when I made the shift, and I went in. That was the oil industry. From the oil industry, I went into automotive. And I will actually say when I made the shift to go into automotive, Brian, is where I got a lot of my true hands-on experience. I worked for an organization that was growing really fast and opening up shops all over the US. So that's where I would say I got the experience with setting up new companies, ensuring that all the correct infrastructure was set up with the different locations from state to state, ensuring that if we went into Nebraska, everything according to the state of Nebraska, we set that location up correct. If we went to Wyoming, we set up everything correct according to the various agencies in Wyoming. So I will say, and I was promoted to assistant controller, and subsequently worked my way up to the controller position at that location. That was a fast-paced, growing organization, but it allowed me to develop a lot of my leadership skills, and it allowed me to be in a position where I was able to manage a team of, I think I had 30. So, in retrospect, if I had to look back, and I think I was probably 34 at the time, it was a lot of responsibility that was placed upon me as a 34-year-old, managing a team of 30 and just working with the dynamics of individuals that were older than me, younger than me, and being an African-American woman and just dealing with some of the office politics, let's put it that way. So I worked myself to a point where they were not going to promote me any further. And so I knew that I wanted more out of life. I knew that I wanted to grow. And during this time, I was still working this business on the side, but I never had the faith in myself to realize that I could have stepped away from the corporate job and work my entrepreneur business or work my business. And the reason, as I said to you earlier, to be honest with everyone, I got comfortable with bringing home a paycheck every 2 weeks. I got comfortable with knowing that I had medical, dental, vision. I got comfortable with knowing that if I was sick, I had an insurance plan. I had a backup plan at the job that says, you're off 5 days, you have sick pay that you can, pull into. So that was the mindset that I had. I wasn't thinking any different until I actually took the plunge. But before I left corporate, I was working in manufacturing. And that was in the aerospace industry, where the company was building filtration for the various airspace. So in that organization, again, I had a staff that I was responsible for. I was also responsible for the human resource department, and IT reported to me as well. So as I grew and as my leadership skills grew, I had more responsibilities placed upon me in corporate. And I think as well, that was one of the reasons that prevented me from really devoting time, the time that I needed to build the infrastructure on the other side, because I had the full-time job and then I was running this business on the side. But once I built to a point where I felt the infrastructure was in place over here, I said, it's time to leave.